what motivates people what motivates these lobbies? Like, is it with the Christian Zionists, it's the rapture? With the Jewish Zionists, I mean, there are lots of Jewish Zionists who are not at all religious. So what motivates these people?
Well, I think those who are not religious view Judaism as an ethnicity.
Sure.
You're Jewish, not so much because of the religion, or not just because of the religion, but for ethnic reasons as well. So I think that explains a lot of it. Uh, I think a lot of it is just good old fashioned nationalism, tribalism. I think a lot of American Jews feel that they are part of this Jewish nation, and they identify, therefore, with Israel in really profound ways. Uh, I think to take it a step further, a lot of people think that it's the last refuge, that you never know what's going to happen in the West. All these goys may turn on you at some point, and if they do, you want to have Israel as a refuge. So we have to keep Israel in place. I think at this point, Katie, maybe the most important reason is that I think Judaism is a religion, no longer has the bite that it once had. When I was a young boy, I grew up in New York and I knew lots of Jews, and there was a real religious element to the community. People really cared about Judaism as a religion. And as that has gone away, and this is no great insight on my part, but as that has gone away, Israel has become the religion for many Jews. So if you go to a Reform temple today, what you see are Israeli flags all over the place. And when the rabbi talks, he or she talks about Israel, and everybody in the congregation is made to remember that being Jewish is being loyal to Israel. So if you have somebody like me or any of you who go out and criticize Israel, they're calling you anti-Semitic because they identify Judaism with Israel. Israel has become Judaism in the minds of lots of not so religious Jews, and they're a huge chunk of the population. So I think for all these different reasons, there are a substantial percentage of people in the American Jewish community who are profoundly loyal to Israel and will do whatever they can to support Israel. And they have what you might call a my country right or wrong mentality. Deep down, they have to know that committing a genocide or committing mass murder is fundamentally wrong, but they'll justify it because it's my people, right? We did it.
I'm not religious, but I guess I feel like I'm really lucky because for me, my Jewish identity was very cultural and very grounded in precisely like being critical of things like Zionism or things like Israel, right? So there was that whole, like there were tons of Jewish segments of society that were not anything from non-Zionist to anti-Zionist, right? And of course that was wiped out in large part with the Holocaust, but also because Zionism and the lobby. So it's interesting because I do understand that for some people, it's like, well, without the Jewish religion, what do they have? How can they feel Jewish? But there are tons of people who feel Jewish in a way that is neither religious nor Zionist.
Yeah.
I guess that needs to be kind of, but I mean, there are tons of people, but that's not something everyone understands. And I feel like maybe we have to do a better job of showing people that that's also an option, that that's a way you can express your Jewishness.
Well, as you know, many of the people who were engaged in the protests in the spring of 2024 were Jewish. You have groups like Jewish Voice for Peace.
Yeah.
I do Judge Napolitano every week, and Jeff Sachs, Adam Mate, and Max Blumenthal
Right.
are all Jewish. So the idea that all Jews support what Israel is doing is simply not true. And some of the principal opponents of what the Israelis are doing are Jews or Jewish groups like Jewish Voice for Peace. So there's no question about that. And I actually think most people are attuned to that fact that this is not Jews against Palestinians. It may be the case in Israel that that's true, but certainly not in the wider world, and certainly not here in the United States.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a whole, I mean, there's a whole debate we can have about whether it's, and we can do this on another show, but I think I maintain that it's not Judaism that's the problem. And when I say that, I have zero skin in the game because I did not grow up Jewish. And if anything, I'm kind of like have to be more tolerant of religion than I was raised. I'm not pro Judaism at all. I just happen to think that it's neither historical nor helpful to attribute Zionism to Judaism, because I think it's not a good organizing idea because it's a much heavier lift to ask people to stop being to throw out Judaism than it is to throw out Zionism. And I also think that there are horrific things in all of the texts. But again, I have no problem. Like that's not me being protective or defensive because I was not raised with Judaism at all.
I
Um,
don't think anybody really except Israel conflate the 2. I mean, it's really only Zionists that conflate them. Even Hamas has been
oh yeah,
explicit in, in saying that they are fighting their occupiers and their
right.
tormentors, that they, I mean, Sheikh Yassin, the founder of Hamas, said outright, "We have nothing against Jews. We have lived with Jews in this land for centuries. We are an indigenous people fighting an indigenous liberation struggle." I mean, that's been clear. It's been clear from all Palestinians. It's been clear among Arabs. It's clear among solidarity groups. It's really just Israel and Zionists that conflate the two.
Right, and when I say but when I say Judaism, I mean, like, the religion, and I guess this is I know this kind of sounds, esoteric, but there are people with whom I agree on politics and with whom I agree on Palestine, including Jewish people who say that there is something fundamentally wrong with the book, like the Talmud or the Torah, that there's a lot of genocide in the text. And I just don't think again, I think that having read parts of all three of the major monotheistic books, I just don't think that that's you can draw a straight line from it because if that were true, if it were just based on the text, um, you wouldn't have had the Crusades, or more recently, you wouldn't have evangelicals believing in the death penalty, for instance. So I think that but I do think we're seeing that argument. I'm not saying from the pro-Palestine movement writ large. In fact, I think that a lot of the people saying it are actually Jewish anti-Zionists. But I think that I think it's a losing battle
Actually, I think we have to go back to the Zionists themselves because actually what you're saying is coming directly from Zionist rabbis who have been saying, I mean, and they're on, we've seen them on
yeah,
videos that have circulated and gone viral, referring to parts of the Talmud and the Torah that justify murder and killing of babies, and so I mean all of this. But again, I think none of us are theologians, and I don't think, and this is not a discussion that I feel comfortable having because that's again, I'm not a theologian. I can't quote scriptures, but I can say that throughout history, people have used uh,
exactly.
sacred scriptures
Yes.
to commit atrocities from slavery to genocide and so forth.